I'm Bill Korak with the report card. We're in Tampa at the Board of Education building. Many groups are here for a press conference and school board meeting to protest the Council for American Islamic Relations speaking in Tampa schools. They say CARE is linked to terrorist organizations.
We're here today not to indict or condemn the Hillsborough County School Board. We're actually here because we all have failed to protect our children, starting with our parents not looking into textbooks, to the local community not being involved, and the school board as well as the Department of Education. We have allowed Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, and even Al-Qaeda to actually write educational policy in America and influence our children. How is it that Abdurrahman al-Amoudi, currently serving 23 years in prison as an Al-Qaeda financier and a co-founder, one of the founding leaders of Hamas CARE, was able to write the educational guidelines with the ACLU under the Clinton administration and continue to be an ambassador to the Islamic community under the Bush administration? How is it that Shabir Mansouri, whose quote right here says, "I'm waging a bloodless revolution in America's classrooms," is able to put the content into virtually every textbook across the country regarding Islam? And how is it that another Muslim Brotherhood entity, ISNA, and the CIE are able to, in the Teacher's Guide to Religion in the Classroom, of the 17 organizations, the CIE, who's waging a bloodless revolution, is one of the contributors, as well as the Islamic Society of North America, who is also a co-conspirator in the largest terrorism funding case in U.S. history, who also petitioned the court along with CARE and the North American Islamic Trust to have its name removed 3 times unsuccessfully. And lastly, we have CARE Hassan Shibli, who has praised and defended Hezbollah, and he runs CARE Tampa, an organization that is designated a Hamas entity in federal court, influencing our children. I would say that as a nation, we have failed. As a parent, we have failed. As educators, we have failed. And it's time for us to unite and to stand up and say no more to CARE, no more to the Brotherhood, no more to Al-Qaeda, and to protect our children. And that's why we're here today. And we encourage every parent in this community to get involved and go to www.secure-our-schools.com. So secureourschools.com and get involved and make this a public issue, and let's work together to protect our children. Thank you.
And if the rest of you would line up and be prepared, Rael Rossi, Margaret Wilson, Dan McKenzie, Sergio Jehonan, and Amber Keller. Go ahead.
I'd now like to ask everyone who is here because you don't want CARE in the classroom to please stand up briefly. My name is Terry Temple, and I'm here representing Community Issues Council.
I just want to let you know I oppose CARE speaking in our public school systems because it's a threat against our children and ultimately our nation and our freedom. Sharia-compliant theologian preaches that fundamentalist Islam wishes to destroy all states, governments, anywhere on the face of this earth which are opposed to the ideology and program of fundamentalist Islam, regardless of the country or the nation which rules it, end quote. The bottom line is that the goal of Sharia law is to become the law of the land. CARE promotes Sharia in America and tries to downplay its negative aspects. In fact, CARE is one of the organizations that poses as a moderate and uses a stealth or cultural jihad, as other people have said, to achieve their objectives. So simply put, once fundamentalist Muslims replace enough of the population of any country, the non-believers will lose their nation, their culture, their laws, their land, and their fundamental human rights. The only difference between CARE and violent groups like Hamas and Al-Qaeda are their tactics and their timing. However, their desired goals are exactly the same, and that is the imposition of Sharia law and the establishment of a global fundamentalist Islamic state. I realize that raising these goals of radical Islam is not popular or politically correct in a culture today, exactly because of the flood of propaganda insisting that fundamentalist Islam is merely another religion. But extreme Islam's most basic tenets and goals is at its core a nullification of our Constitution, and as such, a single greatest threat to America that it has ever seen. In a court of law where it takes the voice of 2 women to equal that of a man, and to denounce a faith is to accept death, seems to oppose the Constitution, which instituted to ensure our equal rights. However, it's all commonplace under Sharia law. Oil and water would be a good analogy. However, with our extreme tolerance, maybe host and parasite might serve better. To summarize, we are left with a choice to dismiss or address the reality of this threat. And I ask that you urgently place this item on the agenda.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to address the school board today. I'm from Jacksonville. I was invited here to speak today because I have a vast knowledge of Sharia law, the Islamic movement in America, and the Muslim Brotherhood. We're not here to condemn or even to chastise this board because we've all failed to protect our kids. Us as parents, the community, the board, the whole education system. We've allowed groups like Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, and even Al-Qaeda to actually not even influence our children, but to write policy. I ask you, how is it that Abdurrahman al-Amoudi, an Al-Qaeda operative who's now serving 23 years in federal prison, as a financier for Al-Qaeda, wrote the public school guidelines with the ACLU under the Clinton administration? The same man was also the Islamic ambassador to Muslims in America under the Bush administration. How is it that the Council on Islamic Education's founder, Shabir Mansouri, who said, quote, "I am waging a bloodless revolution in America's classrooms," writes, his organization writes and puts almost all Islamic content in virtually every book used across this nation now? How is it that that same organization in ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America, are two of the 17 groups who approved the teacher's guide on religion in the classroom? In ISNA, along with CARE and NATE, the North American Islamic Trust, which holds the deed to 7 out of 10 mosques and Islamic centers in America, were the ones that actually wrote that and are co-conspirators in the same trial and tried to have their name removed 3 times. We have a problem. We've all failed to protect our children. It's time that we stood up, all of us, and said no to Al-Qaeda. We said no to the Muslim Brotherhood. We say no to Hamas, and it's time to protect our children because the cultural jihad that's being waged in America is for the hearts and minds of our children. The enemy knows they cannot defeat us with a kinetic war. They are beating us in an information battle space by attacking our foundational institutions, our education system, our churches, our media, including our governments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The Hillsborough County School mission is to educate and create good citizens. Just what kind of citizen are you trying to create? That goal is an admirable goal. Question is, when Hassan Shibli came in to speak about CARE and Islam in Steinbrenner High School, what was his knowledge, his background, his credentials that allows him to speak to a world history class? Is his degree in history, Muslim faith? Is he a cleric? No. He is a political science major. So tell me, what was he exactly promoting when he went in there? Since CARE is teaching and promotes Sharia law, which conflicts with the U.S. Constitution, and their goal is to establish Sharia law in the U.S. through the CARE system. Is this what we need to have taught to our impressionable children? Let me ask you this, good Lord. Was he screened through SERVE? That's your organization. It's on your website. Why is he allowed to promote his political viewpoint, lifestyle viewpoint, or religious viewpoint, which is specifically stated on the school board website, SERVE, that this is prohibited? Look under the school board guidelines and policies. I believe knowledge should be given on all levels of history, but where there is nobody who was invited to speak other than Mr. Shipley with CARE until it was made public, then an invite came forth to others. When you expose the children to an organization that defends terrorism, where do we go from here? How do we ensure that rules are followed for all? That the people who speak to our students do not promote Islamic terrorism, Sharia law, but instead promote correct, historical facts and knowledge to our students,
Thank you.
not
Your
another
time
way
is
of
up.
life.
Thank you. I now have board member comments. Dr. White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To all of the speakers here tonight, I just want to thank you for exercising your right to come before this board and carry out your civic duties. Specifically to the speakers on CARE, I've heard talk of Hamas, potential political agendas, and America's Western identity. You've given me some enlightening information to give thought to, and I welcome the opportunity to discuss this issue as an official agenda item.